Jayson Tatum finally goes off and the Celtics lose to the Atlanta Hawks. Ugh. I'm going to talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
So hype right now. Anything's possible. I'm a mother. I'm a lady, ma. Anything's possible.
Rain and Jay's back with the vengeance. All the real Celtics fans in attendance. This the truth like 34. This like walking in the garden when you hear the roars. The crowd goes crazy. Most in-depth coverage on the daily. Mainly podcast royalty, the content kings. When you talking about the franchise with 17 rings. Focus like Danny at the deadline. Global, but it got a local feel like the red line, the blue line, the green line. Play it in between time. I'ma throw my C's jersey on in the meantime and press play. When the F's done, I can't wait until the next day. Trying to stay in tune with the C's, that's the best way. Melly.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, and thank you for making this show part of your daily routine and your first listen every day. Locked On Celtics is free, available on all platforms, everywhere, daily, Monday through Friday, including YouTube and LockedOnCeltics.com. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Boston Celtics for Boston Sports Journal, and I've written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars, available everywhere books are sold, especially important to pick up now in the 75th anniversary season while they prepare to announce their 75th anniversary team. Today's episode is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's an unofficial community center. Big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. I'm loving it. Before I start here on the Celtics loss to the Atlanta Hawks, I just want to programming notes to the people who are watching on YouTube. Is an effort to kind of grow the channel. I'm going to be posting these videos 7 a.m. every day. So 7 a.m. daily, the show will publish on YouTube. For people who are listening on the audio version, as soon as I'm done, I'm uploading that. It's weird. I apologize for people who might be waiting for it. I know some people who work overnights are watching at work. They, unfortunately, the algorithm, I'm just a slave to the algorithm. I have no choice. If people aren't watching at 3 a.m. when I normally post these, the video gets buried and YouTube decides who gets to see it. I hate it, but it's part of the game I got to play. So in an effort to try to avoid that, I'm going to start posting these videos at 7 a.m. I'm sorry. That's how it's got to go. But it will be there for you in the morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time. Everyone else who's listening on the audio version, wherever you get your podcasts, I just upload that. There's no algorithm there. You just subscribe and it's there whenever you want to listen to it, whenever it's ready. That now out of the way. So the Celtics lose this game to the Atlanta Hawks, 110-99. Later on, I'll talk about the shooting as a whole. In the second segment, I'm going to talk about just some of the other players who made a contribution. But in the first segment, I really got to talk a little bit about the game here and then Jayson Tatum. That's basically the first segment here. My first impression from this game is when I watched this, I said, geez, the Hawks just looked better. The Hawks look like the better team. There's no other way to say it. The Hawks look like the better team. When before halftime, I was looking at like just the course of this game, and I said, look, I know that Jalen is not there. I know that Rob isn't there, and that changes the entire dynamic. Right now, the way that Celtics team looked and how good that Hawks team looked, that Hawks team looks pretty good, and they played better. They moved the ball better. They moved themselves. That was an active, fast-paced game. I thought they played very, very well. Their defense is somewhat problematic for sure, but the Celtics weren't able to take advantage of it. But offensively, if the Celtics could play like the Hawks did offensively on a regular basis, then that would be amazing. But the Celtics defensively, the effort was there. And Ime Udoka after the game was very clear to say the effort wasn't lacking. The effort was fine. The execution wasn't particularly great. They couldn't stop a single pick and roll. I thought Trae Young had a really, really good game. And like Trae, 4 of 12, 0 of 6 from 3. So you take the 0 of 6, and he was 4 of 6 from 2. So he attacked and did well there. The 0 of 6 from 3 included, I think, 3 logo shots, which didn't materialize. So the percentage numbers here, You say, oh, he only shot 33%. The Celtics did fine with Trae Young. No, they didn't. They did not. He kept turning the corner. Their double teams weren't aggressive enough. They weren't tight enough. He was getting around them. And those times when he did give up the ball, the ball started to move. And even though he might not even get a statistic, he might not even get a secondary assist on some of these things, the ball movement that he started and created turned into positive offensive results for Trae Young, for the Atlanta Hawks. So I thought Trae was really good in this, minus his 6 turnovers, but 11 assists and a steal. The 11 assists were just indicative of how the Celtics were unable to stop him, and he kind of got to do a lot of the things that he wanted to do. They did get the ball out of his hands. That's a positive, but then you turn around and, John Collins hits for 20 points. Kevin Huerter hits for 20 points, 5 of 7 from 3. Bogdan Bogdanović was 4 of 10 from 3. The Hawks starters, aside from Trae Young, again, with a bunch of logo shots, were really good from 3. Bogdanović, Collins, Huerter, what's that? 10 of 18 from 3. So the Hawks took advantage of what the Celtics were giving them. So, okay, fine. The Celtics had a defensive plan. The Hawks matched it. There were still opportunities there for the Celtics to match what the Hawks were doing. In fact, they had it down to 4 in the third quarter. Then there was a stretch. So Bogdan Bogdanović got hit 2 3-pointers in less than 30 seconds. Smart misses a layup. It's a tough layup. He was challenged from behind. He missed the layup. The ball comes down the other end. He was slow getting back. There's a 3-pointer. And then the Celtics come down, botch an alley-oop, come back. Smart goes under a screen, 3-pointer. All of a sudden, it's a 10-point game. Like in a matter of 30 seconds, boom, it's a 10-point game all of a sudden. That kind of changed the momentum. The Celtics obviously had more chances down the road, and Jayson Tatum was a big reason that they had a lot of these chances, but they couldn't capitalize. Here's Tatum, who, by the way, Tatum was on the night 34 points, 12 of 22, 54.5%, 5 of 12 from 3, which is good, almost 42%, 5 of 6 free throws. Nowadays, 6 free throws is pretty good, although Trae got 10. Side note, a couple of those Trae Young trips to the line I thought were borderline and stuff that they might not have been calling this year. I was a little kind of perplexed by that, but that's a different conversation. Tatum also had 5 assists, 9 rebounds. So Tatum had a good night. Tatum was playing well. Tatum did a lot of the things that he was trying to do, was supposed to do, giving the ball up when he got double teamed. But here's my problem, and I've said this before in the podcast: give it up when you get double teamed, but get it back. The Celtics need to get Tatum the ball back in the fourth quarter. Look at this. He had 4 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter at 10:50, at 9:40, and then at 8:43. So basically 1 shot per minute over the beginning of the fourth quarter. He hit all 3, and then he doesn't take another shot for another 7 minutes. He was 3 of 3 to start the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden the Celtics got away from him. And he played that whole fourth quarter until garbage time, and he came out. That to me is just unacceptable. Without Jaylen Brown there, without Robert Williams there, there's no other outlet. Schroeder was okay. Smart was okay. I'll talk about them in a couple minutes. But you have to, in those situations, you have to find a way. You have to find a way to get Jayson Tatum more shots, especially when he hits his first 3 shots of the fourth quarter. And you're trying to come back. And I'm going to pull up as we're talking here, as I'm talking, the fourth quarter stats. It starts off at 91-77. Smart hits a floater to make it 91-79. Tatum makes it a 10-point game. They go back and forth. Another layup. Atlanta's starting to pull away. His layup makes it a 13-point game. And then he hits a step back 3 to make it a 12-point game. So he's keeping the Celtics afloat right there. And then there's nothing. It's stagnant. Why not get the ball back to Tatum? Now, of course, look, he's going to have to give it up sometimes. You're going to double team him. Just like I praised Trae Young, you get the ball, you get double teamed, you give it up. That's fine. But when you're the only guy, when you're the only real true scoring option, you have to find a way to get Tatum the ball back. He has to go get the ball back somehow. Whether it's setting a screen and either you set a screen and spring the guy because they're going to follow you and that opens things up, or you start coming off of picks down, pin downs and whatever to get the ball. Get creative. If Ime Udoka has a place to improve, it's finding a way to get late game opportunities for his stars. Both of his stars when Jaylen Brown comes back, and hopefully that will be on Friday against the LA Lakers. He was hoping to play the other day. He was hoping to play in this game. He's ramping up his workouts. But anyway, those guys need to be heavily involved in the offense somehow. And I just cannot accept Tatum going 7 minutes without even a field goal attempt. It's just not. It's not something without Brown, without Rob, that it's unacceptable to me. Going to come back and talk about Grant Williams. Grant Williams was huge in this game. They wouldn't even be close without Grant Williams, which is not something I ever thought I'd say. First, I got to tell you about BetOnline, which is back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of basketball season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head on over to the new updated desktop or mobile site to sign up today. Get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit with the promo code LOCKEDON. Locked On will get you a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So whatever sports you want to bet on, basketball, football, hockey, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games, do not wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. How about making your second listen the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast? With Josh Lloyd, he's going to help you win your fantasy league. Get all the tips, tricks, who to drop, who to sign, who to trade for, all of that stuff on Locked On Fantasy, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. It's Grant Williams. Hello, Grant Williams in this one. Grant was awesome. 6 of 12, 3 of 8 from 3, ties a career high with 18 points, 6 rebounds on top of that. A couple of offensive rebounds making up for what Robert Williams didn't, without Robert Williams, what they couldn't get. He was just good early. I thought he kind of helped keep the Celtics afloat. Him and Jayson Tatum, they combined to shoot 40% from the field. I'm sorry, from 3, which is just huge. They were combined 8 of 9 from the line. They were the only two guys hitting a majority of their 3-pointers, which is a problem I'm going to talk about in the next segment. Grant had he hit 10 points in the first quarter, a drive on Danilo Gallinari, who I'm not sure Danilo Gallinari can guard me on the drive at this point, but Grant took advantage of that and drove and got I think it was a 3-point play, got the layup for sure. And that was kind of like, hello, did Grant just do that? Yeah, he did. Then he had an awesome play later on where the ball was kind of going out of bounds and it saved, but he was out of bounds. He reestablished himself in bounds, and then he picked the ball up. Kevin Huerter was like, you can't do that, which he could do that. And as soon as Huerter turned around, which is stupid, but he turned around and complained, and as soon as he complained to the ref, boom, Grant goes in for the and one. That was the and one. Gallo, I don't think was. But anyway, that's an example of how do you, if in film, an Atlanta film session, how do you as Kevin Herter look at that and be like, yeah, you got to be like, sorry, my bad. I shouldn't have complained. Like that should be a fine. He should be like a $500 fine. He should have to go up there and like sing like the Sound of Music theme or something in front of everybody to make up for that. Because this is a dumb play that Grant Williams took advantage of. He should just stood there and guarded that and then complain afterwards. But anyway, good for Grant. I thought he was big, starting in place of Robert Williams. He's had a tough time. Grant, and I have the numbers here. Grant started off hot and then had a 2 for 18 stretch over 9 games, and now he's back to being hot again, and he's up to 40.8%, basically 41% from 3. He said after the game, look, I just got to shoot it with confidence. And it's when I start thinking like, oh, is this the right shot to take? Should I pass it or whatever? Like, shoot it with confidence and deal with it. And he shot it with confidence, and it was good. There was one point there in the game where I thought Al Horford, I just said to myself, damn, Al Horford's going to be so damn good on defense. There were a couple of times where he got torched for sure. It's hard for him to go out and trap Trae Young. He made a bad mistake on the sideline late in the game, which, a lot of people couldn't contain Trae Young, but you got to be better at that. And it's tough for Horford at 35 to completely stay in front of Trae Young, but I thought he did a pretty good job defensively. He also had 2 steals and a block. I thought he was active all over the place, kind of carried the Celtics defensively for a stretch. He was worth noting. And then that was it, basically. I thought Tatum was good. I thought Grant was good. I thought Al was mostly good. And then you go down the line and you say, okay, Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart had 11 assists and he had 2 more steals. And I thought defensively he had another couple of plays there where he got Jayson Tatum easy leak out, fast break dunks, and that was good. I thought Smart's passing was generally good, but he's another guy like 3 of 10 shooting, 0 of 4 from 3. Most of those shots you're okay with because the catch and shoot, there was one that was a late shot clock that almost doesn't count. It's like 2 seconds on the shot clock. You have to shoot that, right? Like he's not going to pass the ball with 2 point something on the clock to somebody else because that person's going to catch it in a bad position. You just have to catch and shoot no matter what the defender is doing. Like your teammate's going to be pissed at you for that. You have to take, when you got the ball and it's like 3-2, you got to shoot that. So unless somebody's completely underneath alone for a layup, you got to shoot that. So I thought most of his shots were okay. He had trouble finishing around the rim. Some of it was challenged. Certainly he probably could have picked up a foul or 2, but the shooting is just continuing to be a real problem. Like we know Marcus Smart is not going to hit a ton of shots, but he's really cold. Just another guy on the Celtics who's really cold. So, and then he made a couple of defensive mistakes. For Smart, the defensive mistakes get magnified. And it was part of a turnaround for the Hawks that just the Celtics had opportunities later to cut into the lead, but it just never could. And so Smart, I thought, had his really good moments. And then there were some moments where it's like, ugh, okay. Same with Schroeder, who was 6 of 12, 15 points, but another 3 turnovers. One really bad one at the half court, just got straight ripped. A 1 of 4 from 3, so his shooting is kind of spotty there from the three-point land. I thought he was, again, just like Smart. Did some good things, certainly. You look at the game, you're like, oh yeah, that was good. And then some things you're like, oh God. So I'll put them both in the so-so. Josh Richardson, kind of in that same vein, 5 of 10 overall, but 0 of 3 in the fourth quarter. I have a second guess of Ime as far as the fourth quarter. Richardson was missing, and you didn't put Grant Williams in until 3 minutes or so to go in the game. And for a guy that was so hot early, I don't understand why Grant didn't get earlier minutes in the fourth quarter. I mean, there's a guy that you had to have spotting up. If they're getting the ball out of Tatum's hands and he's not getting it back, and you're looking for guys to hit shots, why not get it to the guy who was already 3 of 8 and hitting a couple of these corner threes and it was shooting with some confidence? Why not get it back to that guy instead of Richardson? So I'm not sure why he went with Grant. I'll have to go back and look to see. It's probably matchup based, but I think that, Richardson in the fourth quarter was, getting shots that, look, it feels weird for me to say Grant should have gotten these shots instead of Josh, but he should have. In this game, he should have. Ride the hot hand a little bit. And then just looking at, Cantor, I'll save Cantor for the next block because that ties into the whole shooting thing. Same for Neesmith and Pritchard and Langford. I'll do that when I come back here on the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thanks as always for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. For your second listen, how about the Locked On Bets podcast? If you're laying some money down at BetOnline.ag, why not listen to your boy Q and Lee Sterling? They are on a big run right now, and you should be listening to Locked On Bets. Maybe they can help you win a couple of bucks when you're laying some money down wherever podcast exists. Okay, it's obvious that the Celtics are just they need shooting. We knew coming into this season that the shooting was going to be an issue, and it is. There's the one thing that we knew coming in was going to happen, and it happened. And now we're kind of stuck here. Ime after the game was saying, I don't feel like we found our offense. We did what we've been doing all year. Penetrate, kick, get some guys wide open looks, and they're not knocking them down. Not going to hold people in the 90s every night. We have to score more than 99 ourselves, which is very obvious. Another thing that he says, we talk about expected points every game, and expected points are very high with the looks that we're getting. When you don't knock those down, it starts to mentally wear on you a little bit. So there are metrics out there. Some of the more advanced sites, something that I do not have access to because it costs much, much, much money that we're just not going to pay for. They get all the crazy, ESPN pays for it. So they have stats like expected shooting percentage and the types of shots that you're getting. What is your expected shooting percentage? And it calculates basically everybody's shooting percentages and everybody's whole thing. And, you can really get a sense of the shots that you're getting, what should you be shooting? And you get a sense like the Philadelphia 76ers. They had a big crash, and that, of course, coincided with Joel Embiid going out with COVID, but they were shooting way, way, way above what their expected shooting percentage was. So you look at all of those numbers for all these teams, and you say, okay, that's going to drop a little bit. The Celtics are sitting there saying, hey, our expected field goal percentage, our expected shooting percentage on these threes should be higher than what it is. So you can say, and take the stance that Ime is taking and say, well, if the expected shooting percentage is going to be up here and we're down here, then at some point the water's going to rise, it's going to find its level, which is fair. And I think it's worth trying to, when Jalen comes back and Rob comes back and they're a full team, that maybe some of the attention those guys get can help raise everybody's shooting percentage a little bit because they're just going to be a little bit more open. But the Celtics this year are shooting 32.8% on wide open threes. 32.8% on wide open threes. The Celtics are currently shooting 32.3% overall. They are the 5th worst three-point shooting team. You give them wide open looks, and that doesn't even increase the shooting percentage. So that kind of plays into what Ime is saying, like, we're wide open, and that's defined by defenders more than 6 feet away. We're wide open. We should be hitting better than 32.8% from wide open threes. That's fine. At some point, though, we also have to look at it. Who's getting those wide open threes? And you say, exactly how much better are they supposed to be shooting? Because where are those wide open threes coming from? Which I don't have. Are they in the corner or are they above the break? Josh Richardson is getting corner threes, But his 3-point percentage right now is 32.5%. And since his almost 38% in the 2018 season, he had been shooting 34.5%. So his 32.4 is only a couple percent off of what his normal. So he's not going to bounce back that far. Dennis Schroeder is shooting almost 33%. His career is 33.7%. So he's only about a percentage point off of his career numbers. Tatum is way off. Al Horford is way off. Even Marcus Smart, who is 32% for his career, is down to 26. He is way off even for him. Those guys will come up. But the Celtics need to do something beyond just sit and wait and hope. They need to do something here. At least situationally, just see if you can get, like in this game, instead of playing Cantor, and I don't know why you go with Cantor. I guess offensive rebound, everybody's missing, so you get a good offensive rebounder in there. Fine, he had a few offensive rebounds, didn't cash any of them in. But if you're going to put a bad defender at center while Horford is sitting, put Wancho in there. Just put Wancho in there. He's a shooter. Maybe he can get out there and get hot. Maybe. I don't know. But you know that Cantor isn't going to give you anything offensively. And you say, okay, well, he can set good screens. Okay, fine. But that didn't do anything. How about a guy who can hit a shot? Or at least has some history of hitting a shot? Let's try it. Now, Nesmith got in, Pritchard got in, and they're kind of off right now. They're just not hitting right now. Fine. What do you got to do to get them going? I've brought up bringing them to the G League for a game or two just to play 35 minutes. I got to check the main Celtics schedule to see, is there a place when the Celtics are off in the next week to send these guys? Just go to Portland, go play 35 minutes and just shoot. Just shoot 23 pointers. I don't care. Just go shoot until you can get yourself back on track, then come back. Do you need to do that? Fine. But short of all of that, it's time for Brad Stevens to, like, I'm recording this. It's the November 18th show. December 15th, the league basically opens up for business as guys who were signed as free agents are now eligible to be traded. And now we start to get like some of the rumors. It's basically 4 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now. The next 4 or 5 weeks, if the Celtics can't get one of these guys going, then it's time to figure out, how do you get somebody in here to help? And it's not even because I think the Celtics could make a deep run if they get another shooter. It's not even because I think it's about even this year or building a team or whatever. My number one thing is Tatum and Brown are 3rd and 8th in minutes played. And whenever Jaylen comes back, he's going to be up there in minutes. These guys are working their asses off. Get them a shooter that they can rely on. Get them somebody out there that they can pass to and feel comfortable passing to, so they don't feel like they have to do the whole damn thing themselves. And that's going to be on Brad Stevens. You get basically a month before you start scouring and say, who do you need to move? If Wancho's not going to get the minutes, then move him and bring back somebody that at least can shoot. Someone that can just spot up in the corner situationally and can knock down a shot. And I don't know who that is. You know, it might be Terrence Ross. I mean, he's the most obvious name to me. Orlando is going nowhere. Can they get an asset or at least clear some space? Something. Is there some incentive that the Celtics can give them to pry Terrence Ross away? He's going to be a very popular guy. A lot of teams might want Terrence Ross. But find somebody. Do something. It's disheartening for the team to work the way they do and then just continue to miss all of these shots. And it's a team-wide thing. Like I said before, shooting was a concern coming in. It has reared its ugly head. It is a big problem, and you don't want to lose these guys. You do not want this to start to, I don't want to say spiral, but you don't want these guys to get frustrated. You want to give Ime Udoka the full year to really gain these guys' trust and to impart what he's going to impart. give him some of the tools, even if it's temporary, give him some of the tools to get these guys help so they can buy fully into what he's doing. And then next year, maybe you can figure out how to, over the summer, truly build a team, and maybe you make a bigger trade and pursue a bigger star if it's available. But the help now in the short term is meaningful for the Celtics. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. I'm going to get Keith Smith on for the Friday show to talk a little bit about this past week and looking forward to a 4-game homestand, starting with the Lakers on Friday night and then the OKC Thunder on Saturday. I will talk about both those games on the Monday podcast, but come back tomorrow for me and Keith. So subscribe if you are not a subscriber. If you're new, welcome aboard. This is a daily Monday through Friday show. It is free. It's available everywhere podcasts exist. It's also available on YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Would really love to have you watching the show. I'm here. I put on a sweater. It's 2 a.m, but I get a little dressed up sometimes to put on a show for you guys. So please subscribe, get notified whenever I drop a new video. Like I said, these videos are going to now post 7 a.m. every morning. So it's there for your morning, make it appointment television. If you're getting ready for work, 7 a.m. would be a great time to pop on the podcast. And share the podcast. If you're a regular subscriber, regular listener, tell all of your friends, tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network.